Lana Quest.
Hello, hello, hello.
What's happening?
Going down. Nothing. How are you? I
Well,
got the run in.
you what?
I got the run in.
Yep. You
The
told me you were going to
run
get the run in before.
in.
That is, it's always, don't you feel better when it's done?
I'm just glad it's over. Like, I'm glad I was able to get home and grab something to eat and just do it. Me and my cousins and their children are doing a step challenge
Yeah.
on some app. I don't know. I'm like, the iPhones already record all that, right? Your calories, your steps.
Yeah.
But it's some app that we had to download, and then we can do it like as a group, as a family, the challenge. And me and my daughter were like, yeah,
Mhm.
I'm gonna win this. I guess.
Well, I think what those app challenges are for people who are trying to get motivated to work out.
Yeah,
You already work out.
and that's what I told my kid. I'm like, no, they just want to get motivated by it because they're not. Come on, I'm at 15,000 steps because I just did a 5-mile run. So, like, you're
Correct.
not going to, and I think the kids are just doing this with their phones. Like, because I'm like, how did her steps get so high all of a sudden? I'm like, what
It's like
is
you're
this?
cheating yourself. Like, who are you trying to fool here by just
Yeah,
adding
but
steps that were? How'd that 5-mile run go? Was it a legit, like you ran, like it was
oh,
like a, yeah.
yeah, the treadmill. I could do.
Oh,
I've
the
done. Yeah,
treadmill.
yeah. I
Gotcha. Okay.
don't.
I
I
thought it was
have
maybe something that you went out and did like a
no.
Boston Marathon kind of
I
thing.
think the springtime I'm gonna venture outside.
Yeah.
I got a new pair of sneakers for a gift for
Were
Valentine's
they the new
Day.
sneaker, the hot sneakers going around
Oh,
right
Trump's.
now?
No, I didn't get
No. Okay.
those. I got some other ones, but I don't like them. It's hard to buy people running shoes.
Yeah.
You can't buy someone running shoes. That's like, yeah, that's probably not a good idea.
It is tough to do, and because I still run a lot, where
Mhm.
I'll play basketball or I'll play tennis and stuff like
Right.
that. But if that sneaker or whatever doesn't fit well, I mean, it'll just kill my foot. It'll just like, you take it off. Oh man, that just shit hurts. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And if you're doing running distance, like it has to be your kind of feel that you need. Like it's on Nike and it's got all this fluffy like I think it's for outdoor running, which is totally different than in on a treadmill, right? My
correct.
is are like, the Adidas running very light, thin, just bend flexible. These Nikes are light, but they're a little heavier. And any little bit you can tell, and it's too much. What is that? Propulsion. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
too much for a treadmill. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna kill myself
You,
on it.
the
Like,
sneakers making you run a little faster than the
yes,
treadmill's making you run. Yeah,
yes, because
yeah.
it's like it's a Nike, some special running shoe, and I'm like, nah, this is for outside. This is not on a treadmill. It doesn't feel good. I don't like it at all.
Well, I learned how important that is too, because as I'm getting older, I mean, when I was younger, I could wear anything playing
Right?
basketball.
Yeah, yeah,
Now
yeah. Right.
I'm wearing, and I'm like, oh no, 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 I
Yeah,
can't wear these playing basketball. That is not
yeah.
good.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
You can't wear Trump's I don't know why they call them sneakers. Like some people call them sneakers, some people call them shoes because I don't think they're sneakers. Like I
I
don't
don't,
know why we're
I
calling them.
don't, I'm not really sure what they are, but since we are talking about sneakers and footwear, we might as well start off the show
Let's go.
with some sneaker and footwear news, but leading the story, the reason why we are seeing footwear and sneakers in the news recently is because this happened on Friday after our last show, and we were talking about it was coming, but a judge ordered the former president to fork over $355 million of his fortune plus interest, finding that he lied for years about his wealth on financial statements he used to secure loans and make deals as he built the real estate empire that vaulted him to fame and the presidency. Quote, the frauds found here leap off the page and shock the conscience. That was Judge Arthur Engeron. He wrote that in a 92-page decision that spares Trump's company from closure, but forces it into years of court supervision, among other sanctions. One of them is he can not work or not have any companies or any business in the state of New York for 3 years.
Yeah.
The ruling after 2.5-mile trial or 2.5-month trial in New York, Attorney General Letitia James's lawsuit cuts to the core of Trump image as a wealthy, shrewd real estate mogul turned political force. If you had studied Donald Trump prior to this case, you would have known that already, that he was a financial fraud. He was not a real estate mogul. In fact, most people, if you were to ask them who is the top real estate mogul in New York City, most people would say Donald Trump because he knows how to market himself, but he probably wasn't even in the top 50.
Right. He lost everything his dad gave him.
Yes.
Daddy gave him. He didn't make anything on his own.
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody, when you're given 400 something million dollars after your father passes away, then I most of us could probably make one or two purchases that would make some sort of money. I mean, you don't even have to be you and I would at least admit that Donald Trump probably has some sort of real estate knowledge based on who his father was and based on growing up in it.
Mhm.
We have no knowledge, and I would pretty much guarantee that we could probably take some of that money and make some wise investments with it as well.
Right, because he bankrupt casinos. Like, how do you bankrupt casinos?
3 of them.
Like, how do you do that?
In fact, your boy, I should say our boy, since he's commented, DA had a funny tweet the other day about that, saying it was the first like nonprofit casinos that and those don't exist, nonprofit casinos. I mean, you and I right now could start an at-home casino and we would make money.
Casino.
Yeah. So I found that
that's funny.
Pretty funny. But so Donald Trump owes a lot of money. And this is on top of not just the New York fraud case. It is the 2 different times he was sued and lost by E. Jean Carroll because he couldn't keep his mouth shut and he couldn't keep his hands to himself. So he now totals well over $400 million that he owes. Certainly those are going to be appealed. But it is my understanding, and Lana, I know you have some law experience, and I don't know if you know, but it's my understanding that if they do appeal it, that he still has to come up with the money.
Yeah, he sure does. And that's the issue, because who's going to front that money? He's going to have to start selling. But Letitia's like, if he doesn't come up with the money, we're going to start going after his assets.
Yes. And since you said that, there was a little clip from Fox News that kind of went over some of the things that Donald Trump may have to do in order to pay off these debts. Let's take a look at this clip.
Trump's New York real estate assets could be on the chopping block to foot the bill. Properties like golf courses and Trump Tower, which could be valued at over $300 million. If he doesn't pay within the 30-day deadline, the state could even seize those assets and sell them for pennies on the dollar. Now, the former president has vowed to appeal the ruling, but will still be required to surrender the sum for the entirety of the process. He'll either have to put up the full cash amount in escrow or post a bond.
Lana, all of this has happened let me take that back. The New York case would have happened regardless, whether he was president, whether he wasn't president. Actually, the E. Jean Carroll thing probably would have happened earlier had he not been president. So, he's everything that in the past where people had said about Donald Trump, where they had just said he's just a bad person, that, he's going to get what's coming to him, is now finally coming to fruition. As far as appeals, do you believe he has any hope in any of the appeals to win?
How? I mean, what is he appealing? The amount? Because the judgment has already been made. This is just about the amount.
Yeah, I think they're appealing that. And in fact, they asked who's the idiot lawyer who had Alina Habba, what is the grounds of appeal? And her response basically was, what aren't my grounds for appeal, which is a non-response,
Right,
which you
'cause
would
it was
expect from an idiot lawyer.
right, because he's already been found guilty. Like it was because the judge decided, right? Because he said we didn't have a trial, but they didn't check off for the trial. This is
Mhm.
the case, right? That he didn't have a trial because they didn't check off that they wanted the trial, and he complained
Correct.
about that. So a decision that's already been made. So they must just be appealing the amount.
I think
And
no, I think one or two, they're also still appealing the ruling. They're appealing that, again, they're using this no victims idea, that because there were no victims, and because, and from my research and what I have seen, is there really hasn't been a ruling like this against somebody in New York this high. But I don't know that there's been a lot of cases regarding something this vast and this egregious. But maybe there is, but part of it is that you're right, the amount may be part of it, but they're also appealing the ruling that there were no victims and this should have never been found liable anyway.
how come they didn't appeal the ruling after the ruling was made?
I think I don't know. And I'll be honest, I don't know how that works. I think maybe they're waiting for the judgment. Now, of course, Donald Trump was out there still thinking that he won the case for some weird, strange reason. So
Really?
no, he didn't. Although he said it so lazily and so like sleepy when he said it. It was just like, I started questioning. It's like, does this guy understand that he
Right.
lost? Does he not
Right.
know? Is
Right.
it possible? And I think it might be possible, because I don't give Donald Trump any credit for being
Yeah.
intelligent or aware
Yeah,
or
but that's kind of crazy, even to say like there are no victims, because it's like there are always victims to a crime. You didn't always, you're not going to have actual names to victims, but like if you're cheating insurance companies, they are going to charge the regular person more money. They're going to get their money back. Everybody knows that. Like
yeah.
they're going to be victims to that.
Well, at the end of the day, what this also does, it opens the door for more
Right?
people to do exactly what Donald Trump said and said, well, if he's not going to get pinched for it, then why don't we just do the same thing?
Yeah,
We're just
the
going to
integrity of
over-evaluate things.
business. Exactly. And that's what they don't want to happen. That's why there are laws in place. Like, and it's so stupid. It's only because they're greedy and like the judge called them pathological. They really are, because, dude, skim a little off the top like all you rich people do.
Right.
You just do it little increments, have it worth, a percentage point more. Why the hell are you doing 400 times the value of a property? Like now you're just being fucking greedy. Like that's stupid.
So I want to compare it so people kind of understand what they did if you don't understand it. So I used to be in the car business, in the auto business. And what a lot of dealerships would do, and banks know this, but they kind of let them get away with it. If you had good enough credit, you don't have to prove your income. So if I only make, say, $40,000 a year, but I want to buy an $80,000 vehicle, what they would do on my credit application is say I made $150,000 a year. And so they'd send that over to the bank. The bank's not checking the income. The bank approves the loan. That is fraud. And there have
Right.
been many people in the car business that have gone to jail for doing that. You are not allowed to overinflate your income. You're not allowed to overinflate your value on your properties. You're not allowed to do that. And even though there was a victimless crime, unless, the reason why they call it a victimless crime too is because they said Donald Trump paid everything back and the bank wasn't hurt. So what happens if the bank wasn't paid back? Because there's plenty of times where somebody frauds the bank and they don't pay the bank back. That's the reason why they have these laws in place. So that way, in case you do fraud them and you don't pay them back, then even if the bank accepted it, if the bank said, okay, I believe they make $150,000 a year as a greeter at Walmart. Now, it's not that egregious, but if they accept it and all payments are paid back, they're fine with it. But when they're not fine with it is when somebody's not making these payments back to them. And that's the reason why these laws are in place, because they say, just in case you don't pay these loans back,
Right.
you're frauding the
And
bank.
when did
And
he pay them back? Like We know Donald doesn't pay his bills. And then, like you said, you want to stop them and you want to stop the Trumps because this is something they've done for decades. So
Yeah.
if we just let it slide, they're going to keep doing it and it's going to become more egregious. And also, it's interesting how he's saying, oh, there's no harm, no foul. We paid them back. Meanwhile, Hunter paid back the taxes that he owed, but it didn't stop them from still trying to go after him
Right.
about his taxes.
Right. And there's a hypocrisy. And listen, there's probably there's hypocrisy no matter where you go, on what side you're at, whatever you're
Right.
looking at, whatever. But I mean, and I may be saying this, and it sounds biased because, I'm obviously a Democrat but the comparisons and doing what the other side does is just so beyond the pale.
Yeah.
You don't see the same thing happening
Yeah.
on the left, and it's not because
Yeah.
they're geniuses. It's not because they're, these.
Unless you're what's his face? What's
Yeah.
that? The congressman, I can't remember his
And
name.
guess what? Guess what happens to him when they're now? Of course, he's still in Congress.
He won't leave
Because he won't leave, but the
Right.
Democrats are saying you need to get the hell out. I mean, this
Right.
is not this is awful. This is wrong. But
Menendez.
yes, that's who it is. You want to see something funny based on the ruling here in New York? Of course, New Yorkers, they're fabulous. This was their response.
Make an offer! Make an offer! Everything must go! Cigarette money from
It's definitely a longer clip, but you get the idea. Well, I love New York. New Yorkers, first of all, they can't stand this guy. And, Donald Trump keeps acting like they do, that they love him. They, that he's the greatest thing ever. He doesn't even go back to the state anymore unless he's on trial.
Right.
And that's really what it comes down. I don't know when the last time, well, I'm sure when he was on trial, stayed at Trump Tower, but, Trump Tower is going to be no more. And that's going to be I'm actually going to New York City in July. It would be awesome to go by there and see that building completely changed.
Yeah.
So because of this, Donald Trump has resorted now to yet another scheme upon his followers and his suckers and his losers, because it's not the military men and women who are losers and suckers. It are the people who buy into this clown. And literally I, whoever is on the side of sanity, and that's what I'm calling it, the side of sanity, are arguing with people as if Donald Trump and Joe Biden is a tough choice and we got to figure out. And by the way, I want to make this very clear. I'm voting for where's the camera? I'm voting for Joe Biden.
You got it right
Joe
this time.
Biden. I'm voting for Joe Biden. Did I make that clear, Lana?
Me too. I mailed my ballot and my kids' ballots today for
the primary?
Yes.
Good. And I'm gonna, by the way, I'm gonna get into a little bit about Joe Biden and what's happening with him and the Democratic Party as far as voting and all that stuff here in a minute. But we all saw Donald Trump peddling his horrible gold sneakers and apparently some perfume, I think, that he's trying to sell as well.
Yuck.
Yeah. I did you see the perfume? It's a cologne or perfume. I don't know which one.
Not see the perfume.
I'm sure it smells like shit either way.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Of course, the claim is that these unbelievable sneakers sold out in hours, which maybe they did. I also understand that they are not shipping them out until like August because they're being made in China. And, it's going to take a while for them to come out.
He only has a licensing deal. I forgot the company that's actually making these sneakers, but it's like he's getting money for licensing. They're just renting his name, I guess.
Well, that did you know? And I don't know if you know this, or I don't know how a lot of people. Most of the
Yeah.
buildings that Donald Trump supposedly owns, he does not own almost any
Correct.
of them. They are
Correct.
all licensed with his
Right.
name on it. Because
Right.
he was such a terrible businessman. Most banks said, "Fuck you, I'm not giving you a dime." You know what? In fact, a lot of the properties that have his name on it is because he owed the bank so much money. They were like, "Well, we can seize this property and start over, or we can keep your stupid name on it that somehow has some cachet. So we'll
Right.
keep your name on it. We will pay you, I think it was 400 something $1,000 a month in order to keep his stupid name on these stupid buildings that he owned a lot of money. He owed a lot of money for."
Right.
So,
Right. But he lost that because remember they started taking his name off when he started doing that the insurrection. Like they
yes.
just started taking his name off the buildings.
Yeah, well, part of that too was because once you're president, you cannot receive profit from these buildings. So they're like, well, we no longer are in business together. So, but
True.
it's just unbelievable. It's so unbelievable that people have voted for this guy because he was a great businessman and he was a terrible businessman. But here he is pitching his stupid sneaker. I would have played the clip of just him doing it, but Anderson Cooper played a clip and had a little snark behind it too. So I thought this was a little funnier. So I'm going to play Anderson Cooper introducing his clip and his comment at the end.
Say that preventing such a war is her number one goal. As for the former president, though, his number one goal this weekend apparently was selling sneakers.
This is something I've been talking about for 12 years, 13 years, and I think it's going to be a big success.
He's been talking about it for 12 years. He's talking about these at $399 a pop. He's also selling cheaper sneakers. Not cheaper looking, of course, that would not be possible. Less expensive.
It's true. Bad sneakers.
Look at the bottom. Look at the ticker tape.
Was that you?
Yeah.
Well, who else is it going to be? Did somebody sneak into our show and start doing is that our Chiron? Is that what that is? No, our Chiron is the please like and subscribe. The scroll is
the banner.
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, I mean, this is, I say, I mean, I don't know, I can't say we've reached a new level of pathetic because this is just, it's on par, maybe, I guess.
It's sad. Like it's just really, I can't, this has just been, you go through one week and you think, it just can't get any worse and more pathetic. Republicans just can't get that bad. Trump just can't get any worse. And it does. It keeps going. Like, I don't know when we end. It's got to end. We know it has to end. Like, this can't go forever. But wow. The grift that keeps grifting, man. That's just that.
Yeah.
They're not getting their sneakers ever. They're never getting these sneakers.
No, well, they probably won't. That's part of it. And they also, there was something in the disclaimer that you haven't been taxed yet for these sneakers. So there's going to be an additional cost that they're not even aware of yet based on where they're being shipped from.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, it's just these people continue to just get and you have truckers who say, I'm not delivering in New York anymore because of the ruling in New York. You have Kid Rock and apparently Ted Nugent are touring with each other and they canceled their New York show over this. I mean,
so what? Like New York is like, and
they're like, oh wait, you guys were coming?
Right, exactly. Where?
First of all, I'm not sure their tour, when they say New York, there's no way those fucking idiots were in Manhattan. There's no way. It's not like they were at Madison Square Garden.
Exactly. Some little pub bar somewhere.
Right.
Where?
Yeah, it was probably one of those county fairs or something like that. Yeah.
Well, seriously, and truckers, like, you're just gonna lose money because of that's just so stupid.
It's really
Here.
sad and pathetic that you are going to destroy your own livelihood. And you know what else happens? What else happens is these idiots go, I'm not taking that to New York. And some guy goes, I'll do it. And they go, okay, you'll do it. You just send the guy who will do it.
And it's just stupid because you're mad at the state. Like,
Yeah.
it's just dumb. I don't know.
They're mad at, they think, again, this is all a big setup by Democrats and Joe Biden and the Democratic AG, the, it just, yeah. So all this is nonsense. We all know it. Like Trump says, you know it, I know it. We all know it. It's nonsense. And to answer your question about, when's it going away or how's it go away? I was talking about somebody this the other day. I hope obviously we get this asshole in jail, and then Joe Biden beats him in November. Somehow we're going to have a guy who is a felon who can't vote, but he can run for president. He's going to run for president. He's going to get destroyed in the election, and it'll be I don't care who's running, Joe Biden. It could have really been anybody. I don't see how Donald Trump gets enough votes, outside of this hardcore MAGA base. Once they see everything, what this guy is.
I don't think they care. But what's crazy, Brian, is that in order for them to run, or once he wins the primary, whatever, you're supposed to like cough up your taxes and your disclosure forms and all of that stuff, because they need to know if you owe any foreign adversaries,
Yeah.
or if you're like somebody has some stuff over your head. He's coming in with stuff over his head. Like, the guy who's going to win the primary is in serious debt.
That's a good
means
point.
that he's liable to do anything to get out of this debt. That's insane that he can even run for president with this amount of debt on top of his head, because I thought that was the issue with looking at their taxes, to make sure that they don't have debt, even like credit card debt. Like, I thought like all of that was bad when you're running for president.
Yeah, when you're supposed to run the country in the economic system, you're supposed to have a pretty good sense of economics and how to run your own economics. And if you can't run your own economics, how are you going to run the entire country's economics? Same concept, like I want Donald Trump to run the country because I want to run it like his business. But if you really knew how he ran his business, and forget about, maybe some people can be told and know, if you comprehend it and actually allow yourself to believe it.
You can't even run it out of New York. Like, that's why is he running? No one's talking about that. Like, he should just be disqualified for, yes, the insurrection, but also because he owes so much debt. Like, it's crazy. He's underwater.
Well, yeah, nobody's talking about a lot of shit. And that's what drives me insane. This, like, both sides. I don't know who are we going to vote for. We going to vote for Joe Biden because he's old, or are we going to vote for Donald Trump? I don't know why you would vote for Donald. What is the, okay. Lana, I don't
understand
any of this.
I know, it gives you a headache. Like, it just literally gives you a headache, because it's like, are you dense? Like,
forget about, you hate Joe Biden. Great. We hate Joe Biden. He is the stupidest, dumbest person on the planet.
Right.
So there's no fucking way I'm going to vote for Joe Biden. That's not a separate clip. That's me being somebody else.
Right.
I'm not going to vote for him. There's no way. The other alternative, I'm just going to vote for that guy because that other guy doesn't know how to talk properly. It's so stupid. It's just so dumb. And we've got too many people out there that are not qualified at all to talk about these subjects, who have large audiences, and they are getting people to think that there is a distinctive difference between the two, and that Biden is worse than Trump.
Right.
Fuck out of here.
Right. Like, I was watching The Weeknd show with Michael Steele, Simone Sanders, and I forget the woman's name. Anyway, they were talking to this man who is trying to come up with another third party situation.
Yeah.
Whereas on their ticket, I forget, they're not no labels. It was something else. They would have like a Democrat at the top and I think a vice president Republican, like split the ticket like that.
Yeah.
And Michael Steele and Simone Sanders was like, I really like this show on Saturdays. If you get a chance to watch it, like it's really good because, you know, they'll have an opposing side, but they will push back to that. They're not going to let you sit with what they just said. And they pushed this man because they were saying basically, do you understand that if yes, you end up on the ballot, that means that the votes are going to be split 3 ways. If no one gets to 270,
Right.
the Congress gets to choose, I think, the president, and the Senate gets to choose the vice president. Like, is that what you're gunning for? Because we're going to be in trouble if that's a thing.
Well, here's the thing with these third-party candidates. The only group of people that are sponsoring these third-party platforms are extremely rich Trump people. And they want this. They want a third party because they want to find a way to take the votes away from Joe Biden. That's exactly what they want to do. As long as they don't vote for Joe Biden, because this has been said numerous times that Democrats win every single election if the voters come out. If they come out, they easily win every one. If you get them to either stay home or you get them to come out and vote for this third party guy, that's where there's an issue. But I in this scenario and in this situation, I, at this point, am not necessarily worried about the third party candidate because I'm not sure that there's been even the no labels is having some issues there. They can't find a candidate. Joe Manchin just said, I'm not running. You know, they've asked 5 or 6 different
They're
people.
They're going to want Nikki Haley. And it's just like,
yeah.
Nobody wants Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley waited way too long to start attacking Trump. Like, it's
the funny thing is that Nikki Haley takes votes away from Donald Trump, not from Joe Biden. So, you know, we'll see. I'm again right now, and I think until it's time to maybe worry about a third party candidate, quite frankly, I'm not. But you know, time goes on. You never know. You never know what's going on because this whole country is fucked up now. It's fucked up because not only do we have people who are being fed mis and disinformation on the regular, I guess if that's the term, and you have people who are blatantly lying, and you have so much confusion out there as to what's really happening and what's not happening. It's you know, that makes for a very concerning thing, but I think in the end of the, you know, at the end of the day, we're going to make it through it. Once we do, Trump's in jail, and there's got to be somebody in the Republican Party, depending on who they nominate as the Republican chair. I don't know if Laura Trump gets there and gets stuck after her daddy-in-law goes to jail. You know, what does she do then? Because if she's running the show, then I'm not scared at all.
I want her to run the show.
Right.
Please.
Yeah.
Because the RNC is already broke. She's just going to go and make them
more broke. Exactly. Yeah. It's going to be paying, I don't know, hitmen to try to get Trump out of jail. I don't know what the fuck. This is insanity. And still, I will say it till this ends. The fact that we're not even considering how crazy this is between the two of them is beyond the scope of comprehension for anybody that's got a smidge of intelligence, just a little small bit of it.
Yeah.
Or you get past your racism and your fucking inner anger that you're angry at the whole fucking world for no fucking reason.
And that's what it is, right? That's exactly what it is.
Yep. As I sit there and talk about how angry people are, and I'm saying as angry as I could possibly be. Another major story, Lana, over the past week, Alexei Navalny in Russia He was Vladimir Putin's most prominent domestic foe. He died on Friday at the Arctic prison where he was serving a 3-decade prison term. Navalny was incarcerated at the IK3 penal colony north of the Arctic Circle. That doesn't really matter where it was. On February 16, 2024, this was an announcement. He felt unwell after a walk, almost immediately losing consciousness. The medical staff of the institution arrived immediately, and the ambulance team was called. All necessary resurrection measures were carried out, which did not give positive results. Doctors of the ambulance stated that the death of the death of the convict, the causes of the death are being established. Some were calling it the sudden death syndrome. What do you think caused that, Lana?
Putin did it?
You think? You think he was responsible?
I mean, who else? Santa Claus?
Yeah.
Santa Claus hang out in Siberia? I don't know.
Yeah, we had a discussion last week about Jon Stewart's comments on his first show, Back to the Daily Show. And boy, I'll tell you, there are a lot of just happy dudes that Jon Stewart said this and wanted to in my face it. I've got friends that I'm in, and they just thought it's the greatest thing in the world because Jon Stewart talks shit about Joe Biden. And it's kind of like this, your boy did it. And what do you have to say now? Well, if they saw our show last week, they saw what we had to say, or at least what I had to say. And what I said was, Jon Stewart doesn't control my thoughts, guys. Right. I'm not a MAGA person. Right. So I don't have a leader who tells me what to think.
Right.
I was watching it in real time and I knew exactly what I thought and I knew exactly what I was going to say on the show as I was watching it. I didn't even wait to see what other people were saying about it. Right. So there's this big celebration, but the point is that in that thing that upset me the most, and again, I said, you can criticize Joe Biden all you want. You can be concerned about his age all you want to. That's not my issue.
That's
my
fair.
issue is at the end, when you say, no matter who wins, we're going to be okay. And then on his very show last night, he did a piece about Tucker Carlson going over to interview Vladimir Putin, and he was making fun of that. He was also showing a lot of the protesters for Navalny and the way they were being treated and being arrested and thrown in jail, and comparing how that could happen here if Donald Trump was president. So I find it a little rich that last week we were saying we'll be fine either way, but this week it's kind of like, well, this could happen if Donald Trump is president.
That will happen if Donald Trump is
There's no question.
Said he wants to do it. Like his attorney said, like he's immune to anything.
In fact, Lana, there was just an article from Politico that came out, and that you have that we were talking about last week, that Project 2025 or whatever it's called. Right. There was this article in Politico. I'm reading this here off my laptop. That the headlines are: Trump allies prepared to infuse Christian nationalism in second administration. An influential think tank close to Donald Trump is developing plans to infuse Christian nationalist ideas in his administration should the former president return to power. Spearheading the effort is Russell Vought, who served as Trump's director of office management and budget during his first term and has remained close to him. Vought is frequently cited as a potential chief of staff. So this is one of the guys that they might have as their chief of staff. Some guy who thinks that Christian nationalism, which is defined here as Christian nationalism in America, Christian nationalists believe in America believe that the country was founded as a Christian nation and the Christian values should be prioritized throughout the government and public life. Now, I can tell you one thing. That's not a fucking life that I want to lead. I don't disparage your religion, and I don't disparage Christianity. I mean, it could be a beautiful thing for a lot of people, but now I got to live in a country based on a book of fairy tales and based on a guy that may or not be floating around doing magical things for people. I don't know. It just doesn't excite me.
They don't even live by that. You know what I mean? Like
Well, that is true.
they're
Very true.
pushing Christian nationalism to brainwash people, but none of them live a Christian life because none of the things that they do is Christian. But they're starting it. They're starting it even before, like they're laying the foundation. That ruling that the Alabama Supreme Court just did on Friday, saying giving personhood to frozen embryos
Hmm.
is laying the foundation of this
Yep.
Christian nationalism. Like
Correct.
a frozen embryo now is considered a person. So how you dispose of that, woman goes in, she's having problems with fertility, she goes for IVF, they fertilize the eggs, they freeze the eggs, they do as many as they can to give her the most chance of getting pregnant. She gets pregnant maybe on the second try. There's tons of frozen embryos there. The doctor's like, whoa, we can't, what do we do with these? If we throw them away, maybe we're committing murder under Alabama law.
Right.
So now doctors are going to stop doing IVF because they're in a spot where they don't know what to do with these embryos after use, or if they're dropped, or if by chance, I don't know, you do something to it and it's not an embryo. Like they're, oh my,
And
this is what y'all asked for.
well, but what they asked for will be in, a no pun intended, heaven for them. It would be heaven. It would be the greatest thing in the
No,
world.
for
Now,
the
of course,
men, for the men, for the white men. What Republican women use IVF.
yeah,
It's not
no
going to
question.
be right. So, like, when they
Well,
can't find IVF doctors, what happens?
for the white men, Lana, until their wife or girlfriend or daughter
Right.
gets pregnant through a rape, or gets
Right.
pregnant, or has a miscarriage and it comes out in the toilet,
Yeah.
and now all of a sudden you're finding yourself on trial
Right.
because of your miscarriage.
Right.
That happened, by the way. That's not
Yeah.
something I'm making up. That literally happened in
Yeah.
this country already.
Yeah. And the jury did not indict her.
Right.
Thank God.
At least today they didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. You talk about pardons. That's an instant pardon right there. I mean,
Yeah.
this is so
This is where we're at. This is just a bad place. That's why, I really think that, Americans know what's going on. I just
I
think
do
that
too.
they're not excited right now, or they are, or they're just like, you know what, there's nothing to be excited about. Just tell me when I need to get up and do what I need to do, and then I'm gonna stand in line and fucking cast my ballot.
That's exactly right. I
When
think
we
they come to their senses and they're holding their nose for a Biden vote, which again, for me personally, as somebody that has been following all of this, I just don't understand why Joe Biden is a horrible president other than he's old. If your thing was, I don't know, maybe he dies in office. Okay, we discussed this last week.
we have
There
COVID.
are there's contingency plans. We're going to
Right.
be, then we will be okay. That's when Jon Stewart can say, if Joe Biden died in office, don't worry, everybody, we'll still be okay.
Right.
But if Donald Trump wins, I don't know that everybody's going to be okay. I feel pretty positive that everybody is not going to be.
No. No, we talked about this. You're going to lose your jobs if you work in the federal government. You're not going to have jobs. He's bringing in a whole slew of his people. You got My Pillow guy is going to be in the White House. Like, it's going to be crazy.
Is it media control too? Do they control the media? Do they
That's
control,
what
all
they
these
want.
media people who
Yeah.
want to both sides everything are going to find themselves, next thing you know, not being able to report what they want to report.
Because Trump wants Russia. He wants a Russian America.
And people would say, oh, that's going too far. That's going to, but Donald Trump has shown he doesn't care about what you think.
He said that that's what he wants.
He did. He literally said it.
He doesn't want protesting. How Putin now, those people who go to put a flower to honor Alexei Navalny, they're being arrested.
Right.
That's what Trump wants. What did he talk about with BLM? I don't know. We can't have protesting. Like, he doesn't want anyone to say anything bad about him. And that's
Lana, the thing is that if there was a Black Lives Matter protest, they're all going to be in jail. If there was an uprising like January 6th again,
that's
they'll
good.
be fine. That's the thing. None of them are getting arrested. That's the big issue. Now, everybody wanted to throw in my face the Jon Stewart comments, which I really don't care. My opinion doesn't change. You're not opening my eyes to anything. It didn't. But one of his very good buddies, Stephen Colbert, was on his show last week. He had some comments, and nobody sent me these comments. And for a comedy show, he took about 30 seconds to say something pretty serious. I didn't have anybody send me this, and I don't have the time to waste to send them this because there's no sense in battling back and forth on, well, did you see what Stephen Colbert said? Doesn't matter, but I am going to play it on this show because this is what he had to say on the differences between Joe Biden and Donald Trump.
I know how numb we've become, but it's not normal. No other candidate for the presidency has ever had to pause his campaign to defend himself in multiple courts. And I would like to point out that in all 7 of his cases, no one doubts that he did these things. We're just sitting around patiently waiting to find out if the wheels of justice will grind fast enough for there to be any consequences. And the media is covering it like it's any other political story, like it's all horse race.
You know, and again, it's very rare for Stephen Colbert to take 30 seconds to try to not say something funny, you know, and that was dead on. The media is covering this like it's some sort of horse race, like, oh, who's it going to be, Trump or Biden? This is not the same fucking thing. And the fact that we're normalizing this fucking moron is got somebody like Lana and myself who have intelligence. It's making us fucking crazy.
Yeah. It's funny. I don't know when we say media, I don't know what media we're talking about or he's talking about because all media is not normalizing it, right? Like if we from the early morning until evening, MSNBC is talking about and having analysts on talking about the threat of Donald Trump. Like it's just all day. So I'm not sure, like, what are you talking about, the local?
Well, I
like
think
Fox, like, who are we talking about?
I think I have an answer for that.
Okay.
But obviously, I don't know if this is true or not. I think when he says media, it's one of those things like, you know who I'm talking about when I'm talking about it. You know, when I say media, his idea is, you know who you are, you know what you're doing. Again, his buddy Jon Stewart was covering this last week like it was a 2-horse race.
Right.
He's got, and again, it's not just all left or right media that's doing that. I do see some of, and I hate calling this, because there shouldn't be such a thing as a right media and a left media. That just should not exist.
Having news, right?
Yeah, it should be news. But if you consider what is the left media and what is considered the right media, again, it sounds even stupid saying it because CNN, as much as I despise it, I still I don't say that that's the left side media the way they say it. They call CNN, oh, so what do you, everything, you watch CNN, obviously you're just parroting CNN. I'm like, I don't even watch CNN. But if I did, there are times I can turn on CNN and they're not always pro-Biden. They're not always anti-Trump. They're not always, so I don't know. I think when he says that, I think it's kind of like if there's one too many of the media saying it, I think that's what irritates him and it irritates me too. At least that's what I got from it.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that make sense? Do you agree, disagree?
Makes sense.
Yeah. All right. So Joe Biden is preparing for a run, obviously, against Donald Trump. He doesn't appear to be waiting for what's going to happen between him and Nikki Haley. But CNN laid out today what Joe Biden plans on doing for the upcoming election. And take a listen. Just if you listen really closely, you can hear the reporter towards the end on how Joe Biden plans on approaching this upcoming election. Listen carefully.
Now, Brianna, what we've learned is that President Biden himself personally instructed some of his top campaign aides to be even more aggressive in highlighting some of President Trump's more inflammatory and wild comments. We are told that the thrust of the president's direction was to significantly ramp up the campaign's efforts to highlight the crazy shit that Trump says in public.
You heard it, right? This is what our news is coming on to now.
I mean, you know what's hilarious? I don't know if you watch Morning Joe, but I think maybe 3 times a week he calls the Republicans bullshit. Like he says bullshit every morning. I'm like, what the? And like Mika just looks. She used to like, say under her breath, Joe.
Yeah.
She doesn't even say it anymore. She just lets him go.
Now it's commonplace because it is. It just, now we have our news turning into a certain style of professional wrestling and stuff like this. She just say, usually they would say crazy, and he used the word S. She just went right through it and said, she's done with the fucking crazy shit. I can't wait till they say fucking crazy shit one day.
Me either. I want Joe Biden to throw that F-bomb so bad. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. So every week we are told how bad we have to worry about Donald Trump winning because the polls show that he's clearly going to win. Every week I'm told that in every battleground state, Donald Trump is winning. I saw an article in the New York Times, the same article that you get every 4 years about these undecided voters are leaning towards Trump. I've said this, Lana and I have talked about this before. If you are an undecided voter at this point, maybe you should just skip the process altogether. My guess is that they probably are going to, the ones that say they're voting for Trump or Biden. If you are an undecided voter in this climate, in this day and age, then this process is not for you. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're still undecided? Like, how?
You know what? I almost,
still
in a way, would like to
policy?
invite a couple of undecided voters on here and just ask them, explain to me the issues between the two and why you think Trump might be a person that you would vote for and why Biden would be a person you vote for, or why you wouldn't vote for the other one. I mean, because I want to hear what they have to say. Oh, I kind of take that back. I don't, because it'll drive me nuts, but I'm just curious. I'm really, really curious to hear what that is. It's funny. I was going to bring up earlier, real quick, the comments I tell you we get on our YouTube clips. Yeah. So every time it's an anti-Trump comment clip, it is loaded with comments,
of course,
that are cursing, threatening, vile, just whatever. And I don't even understand half the shit they're saying. I mean, it is just angry, all caps, all that shit. I did the one about Jon Stewart last week, and we did the clip there, and it was more progressives and Democrats. So on YouTube, they give a section that says comments, and then it says for review. I have to click on for review to see these comments because those are the vile ones. Right. Every time it's a Trump clip, it's loaded with vile, awful clips. But on this clip that I did with progressive Democrat, not one did I have to look on the for review tab.
Hillary was right. Hillary said they were deplorable. She never lied.
Yep. It is. They might, and some of them disagreed with what you and I had to say, which is perfectly fine, but they did it in a manner that was coherent. It had punctuation. It had, proper grammar. It was just, and it made a point, rather than fuck you, you guys suck. And half the other side doesn't even matter what they said, but that's what you get on the comment section. It's actually a lot of fun. So going back to, whether or not we should worry, what's the worry here? Here's a report that was done recently on the donations that the Biden administration has been getting.
President Biden's re-election campaign announced it raised $42 million last month. The campaign says January's numbers were fueled by a seven-figure haul from small dollar donors following former President Trump's victory in the Iowa Republican caucuses. Biden and the Democratic National Committee now have $130 million in their political war chest, the highest total of any Democratic presidential candidate in history.
What does that say to you? Those are real numbers. Forget about the poll numbers. Forget about the undecided voters that they keep talking to. What does that number say to you as somebody who follows politics and has been following it for quite some time? What does that say to you?
That people are tapped in and forget about those polls, because that's crazy. And they also said that a lot of that money was made up of small donations.
Correct.
So it wasn't all big, donations coming in. It was small donations. So yeah, people are paying attention.
And the other side's out of money. They don't even, this is the lowest amount I believe that I heard, and I may not be right about that, so don't quote me. But if it's not the lowest, it's one of the lowest amounts that a Republican candidate, even though it's not official on who the candidate is, they know who it is. In fact, the RNC was basically coming up with plans just to name Donald Trump the candidate regardless, and they didn't give a shit. I think maybe so they can get on with fundraising a little bit more. But anybody fundraising for the RNC, no Trump voter is waiting to donate their money because they're afraid Nikki Haley might still win.
Correct.
So that's a big deal that nobody talks about, that there's legitimate numbers on money from small donations, that this is the highest that a Democratic candidate has taken in ever.
Right.
That should be the story.
Right. And oh my God, I cannot wait to see what they do with this money, because they should be running commercial after commercial after commercial on Donald Trump and in Donald Trump territory for real.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. What's going to kill them in donations anyway is that they are, one, his base is minimal. He's not gaining base. But the other thing is, like, they're pulling them in so many directions with so many grifts, right? Like, are they going to donate to the RNC, or are they buying his stupid sneakers or buying his stupid perfume? Like, what are they, or they're in whatever cards, like, or a piece of his suit? Like, where are these people? Like, where is their money? Is everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, the problem is the donations that they're going to get from this point. I mean, you're going to have still the MAGA people who will, decide whether or not they should buy the loaf of bread, or they should give that $5 or $2 or $3 to Donald Trump. You're still going to have those people give that money to Donald Trump. But a lot of their money is going to come from these ultra rich weirdos. There's a gentleman name, I don't know if you're familiar, if you've been in sales, especially in the auto industry, you'll know a guy named Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone is one of these snake oil salesmen who go around with, I'm going to teach you how to sell kind of things. And he's made a very, very handsome living doing that. He's one of these guys, his own private jet kind of thing. And so he's done very well for himself in that respect. Well, he started a GoFundMe page for Donald Trump when he lost the case in New York. Right. And GoFundMe initially took it down because it went against their rules. But apparently the guy who runs GoFundMe is a Trump guy and somehow found that did not break the rules. So the GoFundMe is back up. I don't know where it's at right now as far as donations, but that to me is pathetic and sad.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
A billionaire has a GoFundMe.
It's and the fact that people don't say that, where somebody doesn't step back and go, wait a minute, something's wrong here. It kind of reminds me during 9/11, these people got to the hijackers, right? And said, if you do this, you're going to be a hero. You're going to be the greatest. You're going to do all this, and you're going to be, and they bought into it. I wonder if there was one guy that goes, well, if this is so great, then why the fuck are you not doing it? It's just like you're being suckered into doing something so they don't have to.
Right.
It's just amazing to me that we have grown adults.
Yeah. They would sell their firstborn kid if it would help Donald Trump.
Yeah. They probably can't stand their firstborn kid anyway. Now, on the Republican side, we looked at some of the pauses from the Democrats. There's some concern on the Republican side. There's going to be a big deal on what happens in the House race coming up, and the Republicans are barely holding on to the House that they should have statistically and historically run away with in the last election, but they did not do that. They barely won it. And because of people like George Santos, and there was one or two others, the gap has gotten shorter and shorter. But this is a small report on the Republican concern about the House race coming up.
Republicans that are not coming back to Congress after this term, including Mike Green. He's the chair of the Homeland Security Committee, and Kathy Morris Rogers. She's the chair of Energy and Commerce. The veteran lawmakers are among nearly a dozen Republicans leaving the chamber. The exits follow a historic year of dysfunction, including the ouster of then House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and the failure of a landmark border bill that would have provided billions in aid to Ukraine and Israel that Speaker Johnson refused to take up. CNN's Melanie Zanona has details on this story. So, Melanie, what are you hearing from House Republicans who've decided that their time on Capitol Hill is up?
We were reporting this story is that there is a deep level of frustration with just how dysfunctional this House majority has been this session of Congress, from all of the chaotic speaker drama to even just their struggle to pass basic procedural votes on the House floor. Just take a look at what some members told us on the record. Ken Buck, he's one of those retiring members, said, "We're not doing serious things." Carlos Jimenez, who was an ally of Kevin McCarthy, told us, "I thought that some of our members would be smarter." And Steve Womack, a veteran lawmaker, said, "We are fractured." And it's not just the number of Republicans who are retiring. It is really the caliber of the members who are retiring. There are 5 committee chairs alone who are deciding to call it quits.
And that's obviously a concern for Republicans. It's also sort of a concern that if these are in heavy Republican districts, that these very capable people are going to be replaced by a Marjorie Taylor Greene or maybe even worse. So, but that the fact, again, Lana and I have talked about this before, when there are witnesses in every one of these Donald Trump cases, almost all of them are people that work for Donald Trump, who are close to Donald Trump. These are Republicans making the comments about their own governing body, that they are not a serious party, that they look at this and go, this is so below me that I cannot be part of this anymore. And I would imagine there's a time when they were so proud when you won your race, and you are representing your constituents and you're representing the United States of America. And now they clearly are no longer proud to be in the position they are because of the clown show that is being hired into their party. That's another story nobody's talking about. They're just talking about the difference of Joe Biden's age versus Donald Trump, who wants to be an authoritarian, and that they've got people in their own party saying we're not a serious party anymore.
That's crazy, because they're seeing what we don't see, and we see a clown show. So imagine how much worse it is behind closed doors. Especially to make these people retire. That's a lot of people. That's crazy. They're just like,
they served on committee boards. These people, these are not the, I'm Marjorie Taylor Greene's on.
What's frustrating about it is that they know that what's happening and they won't call it out. Like they prefer to run from it than to call it out.
Yeah. I mean, you had somebody like Adam Kinzinger, who he would call it out, but he saw the writing on the wall. He's kind of like, I'm not MAGA and I'm not going to be part of this anymore. So he retired from Congress, and he probably had a long career ahead of him if he had, been in a normal sort of Congress. But he saw the handwriting on the wall. And you're right. I mean, you could try to call it out, but I mean, Lana, maybe other than just doing your patriotic duty and calling it out, they probably should. Especially now if they're retiring, why wouldn't you? But to do it while you're in there and you're hoping to get reelected, it may be difficult for people to do. And
yeah, that's kind of crazy though.
Yeah.
It's just, you're just a coward, and you just, part of it is they want the power too. So like, not only are they cowards, they're just like, oh, if this can get me ahead, then hey, because that's crazy. If you're a coward and you don't care about getting ahead, you retire.
Yeah.
But if you're a coward and you're also a greedy motherfucker, then you stay. You just
Yeah, I mean, there are some that call it, like that guy Chip Roy, who's far right. He must feel pretty comfortable in his district because he calls it, he's on the House floor going, what have we done? Name one, literally, he's out there screaming, name one thing the Republicans done that I can take back to my constituents and say we did something.
Now they can't even impeach Biden because their fake witness admitted he lied. Like, so just a big nothing. They suck.
Well, I think that that Mayorkas is in big trouble because you saw who's heading up his impeachment, right? Marjorie Taylor Greene.
No, he's not in big trouble.
Oh, trust me, I know. That was about as
that's
sarcastic
hilarious. She's gonna go there. She's gonna put her glasses on and act like she knows what she's talking about, and they're just gonna like trample all over it. It's just so stupid.
It's unbelievable. There's another concern too. John Kasich, the former governor of Ohio, he had something to say about something that was an automatic Trump voter at one point, but he sees and has talked to some people that Donald Trump may want to take a look at and be concerned about.
Evangelical voters are beginning to debate and question their support of Trump. There is a definite split among that community. I can tell you that in the state of Michigan, he is now being hurt and trails Biden because of the fact that the evangelical community is saying, we don't think this is our guy. I don't know whether he can shore that up again. I don't know if this has been said on the air before, but the information that I have from a very well-respected pollster is the evangelical voters are saying, some of them are saying enough is enough. It'll be interesting to see where this develops, because without them, he's got a real problem.
Yeah, I think he's got a problem with them, but without them, as he said, that's a real problem.
Well, the evangelicals must be going to split, because I'm pretty sure there's a hell of a lot of them that still support him.
Oh, there's no question about it. But, the thing is that one thing Donald Trump cannot afford, he cannot afford to lose voters who voted for him. He absolutely cannot afford that. Joe Biden beat him by 7-8 million votes. So he could probably afford to lose a little bit of voters, and he's going to lose voters. There's no question about it. But Donald Trump can't afford to lose anybody.
Right.
Because he's not gaining voters. You made that point before.
Right.
He's not going to gain any voters.
None.
Yeah.
None.
So there's that. Last thing. Did you see there's some new presidential rankings that came out?
Yeah.
Did you?
Somebody got mad about Trump's ranking.
There were some new presidential rankings that came out. So first of all, let me read to you where these rankings came from. And I'm not going to go over the entire list, but we're going to go over some notables if Lana does not mind. The 2024 Presidential Greatness Project Expert Survey was conducted online via Qualtrics from November 15th to December 31st, 2023. Respondents included current and recent members of the President's and Executive Politics section of the American Political Science Association, which is the foremost organization of social science experts in presidential politics, as well as scholars, who had recently published peer-reviewed academic research in key related scholarly journals or academic presses. 525 respondents were invited to participate, and 154 usable responses were received, yielding a 29.3 response rate. Now, I don't know. I've never heard of the president and executive politics sections of the American Political Science Association, but that's sure, it sounds important.
Yeah.
They sound like they know it. There's scholars involved, there's social
Exactly.
scientists involved, experts.
Associations.
So I'm going to take, just based on what this is, that these people know what they're talking about. If somebody can prove to me otherwise that this is a scam and it's not really true, I'm happy to look at that. But real quick, this is how they've done the rankings. The primary purpose of the survey was to create a ranking of presidential greatness that covered all presidents from George Washington to Joe Biden. Joe Biden's included in this. So be interested to see where he fell. To do this, we asked respondents to rate each president on a scale of 0 to 100 for their overall greatness, with 0 equal failure, 50 equal average, and 100 equal great. And I'm assuming in between. So you can give somebody a 25, and that's in between failure and average. You can give somebody 75, and that's between average and great. When they averaged the rankings for each president and ranked from their highest average to lowest. So the guy who remains at the top, who seems to be the GOAT, if you want to call him that.
Obama. No.
Well, he's not at the top.
Oh, is he? Who's it? Clinton?
No, the top president of all time?
Oh, Biden.
No.
Who's the top president?
The number one president, Abraham Lincoln. He's always number one. He's number one on everyone. He's number one on every list all the time. Well, actually, I take that back. Sometimes it's Washington. Sometimes it's Washington because Washington had the
voting for these presidents.
Well, I mean, I guess you do have to, the guy who abolished slavery, you got to also, rank very highly the guy who, basically was the first president of the United States. And probably he kind of set the rules and said, I'm not a king. I want to be president. We're going to have terms. We're not going to make me the president. So that's why historians and people are involved in this, because they put all the historic facts and everything that goes in on this.
Did Lincoln not have slaves?
He did, but obviously you got to give him credit for some sort of, at least steps into eliminating slavery. I mean, is that something that I'm wrong about?
I mean, you can give him credit because he did abolish it.
No, so Lincoln's not number one on your list. No. He's not even in the top. He's not below Trump. Is he?
That's a thing that most white people love Abraham Lincoln. I mean, we just kind of like, yeah, why? Of course, yeah, great that he signed it. But did he do it for other reasons outside of, wow?
Well, yeah, expand on that a little bit. I mean, because it's an interesting conversation, because again, you're right. I mean, there's a perspective and there's, history books and what we're taught and all that stuff, but there's different perspective that you certainly have. And that's certainly something I would love to hear.
Yeah, because I don't think he ever thought of Black people as equal. So I don't know.
Yeah. So Lincoln's not on. He's not on the top of your list.
He beat them.
But I did add, he's not below Trump, right?
No, of course not. I mean, at least he did sign it.
Right. That's what I say. I mean, he gets some credit, and
I would have never said Lincoln, but okay, Lincoln's first.
So Lincoln's. Well,
I'm going to say Washington. Like, oh my God!
I am going to give you the top 10. I'll give you the top 10, and I'll give it to you in order rather than doing the countdown.
Okay.
So number 1 is Abraham Lincoln, as we just discussed. Not in Lana's book, though. Lincoln's out. Franklin Delano Roosevelt is number 2.
Sure.
George Washington is 3. Teddy Roosevelt is 4. Thomas Jefferson is 5. Truman is 6. Barack Obama is number 7. He moved up 1 spot from the last time they did this poll, which was back in 2018. And it's funny, is they show where they ranked previous polls. The other one was done in 2015. He moved up 9 spots to number 8 in 2018,
Nice.
and he moved up another spot on this poll from the 2018 poll. Eisenhower was 8, Lyndon B. Johnson was 9, and John F. Kennedy was 10. He moved up 6 spots. Now, that's the interesting thing, too, about this poll is where people moved up and where they moved down. Clinton moved up 2 spots when he was down 4 spots from the original one in 2015. He moved up 2 spots to number 12. Coming in at number 14, which has really made a lot of people very mad. Number 14 is your current president, Joseph R. Biden. And they gave him really good. Obviously, you have to have really good marks to debut on the list at number 14. And guess who he moved up ahead of? By the way, Clinton, Obama, and Biden ahead of, and I'm glad they're going to expose this, and this guy's going to continue to move down as time goes on and be exposed for the fraud that he was, Ronald Reagan, who dropped down another 7 down to 16. They used to have him in the top 10. Ronald Reagan. Oh, he was so great. He was so influential. But as history goes on and we see more and more of the influence that he had on not just politics when he was in office, but politics today, I think historians are looking back and go, maybe he wasn't so fucking great. And I was forced into telling people how great he was because, you know, I don't want to sound biased, or I don't want to, you know, or because it was just this known idea that Ronald Reagan was a great president. And he wasn't. He was a terrible president.
Right.
But still finds its way in the top 20. A couple of other notables, George H.W. Bush dropped down to 19, which I was not a H.W. Bush fan, but I think out of all the Republican presidents since I've been alive, I think he got the worst rap out of anybody. And I think he was probably the least, what's the word? Obtrusive or, yeah. I think I do believe H.W. Bush wanted to do right for the American
capacity. I just don't think he just was president material. Like
I think he was able to win at the right time, but his problem is that he came in against Bill Clinton, and Bill Clinton is just so charming. And he
senior or junior Bush? Who are we talking about?
He's senior.
Okay. Oh,
yeah. Junior was an idiot, and he's one of the worst presidents of all time too. He was just a complete clown. But Dad, he wasn't that terrible. He wasn't. No, don't get me wrong. I would never have voted for him, but he wasn't terrible the way I see the other Republican presidents that have been around in my lifetime. But Carter came in at 22, and I bring that one up, and he's up 4, by the way. I bring that up because the big talking point on the right is that Jimmy Carter is the worst president of all time, although now they're saying Joe Biden is making Jimmy Carter look 10 times worse. Dumb. But way down on the list at number 32 was George W. Bush. Of course, you have Richard Nixon down at 35, who was a horrible president. And coming in at dead last, by the way, I want to go over just a couple of quick scores. Obama had a total ranking of 73.8, Clinton 66.42, Biden 62.66, and Donald Trump, Johnson, Buchanan were before him. Johnson came in at 21.56. Buchanan came in at 16.71. Donald Trump came in at 10.92. And I'd be very curious to see what scorecard gave him even the 10 points.
That's beautiful.
You know what else is beautiful? We're going to play one more clip before we get out of here. This was the reaction on Fox News and Kayleigh McEnany when they saw the presidential rankings come out. This is the same Kayleigh McEnany that Donald Trump recently called milquetoast because she didn't say one thing that was not in line of what he thought she should be saying. But let's see her reaction and the rest of these Fox clowns.
Ranking, and I'm going to add, in my view, a highly questionable ranking of presidents, is turning heads. After Biden came in higher than both Donald Trump and Ronald Reagan in his wildest dreams.
It wasn't his wildest dream, it's reality.
The Presidential Greatness Project, who claim to be the foremost organization of social science experts in presidential politics.
Now, she doesn't believe it. So if Kayleigh McEnany wants to come on the show and explain to us how they are not, because I asked anybody, maybe they are, maybe they aren't, she doesn't believe it. And I'm assuming she has a reason or she has an explanation as to why they're not.
Maybe the foremost example of the disconnect between ivory tower academia and real people.
Sure.
That aside, Abe Lincoln ranked first. Okay, fair. Then comes Obama at 7th, and Biden came in 14th, actually beating Ronald Reagan, who came in 16th.
They're laughing it up.
Dead last. Look, Lisa, where to begin? This is infuriating in so many ways. 154 respondents. They are the ivory tower elites who in no way represent the view of the American people.
No, but it also goes to show you, though, how history can be written and some of it can be built.
By the way, I love that these Fox News women who are dressed up with probably about $40,000 worth of clothes and makeup and everything keep calling everybody the elites. Like they're the regular people who live in the trailer parks with the people flying their Trump flags. You know what? I don't even have to hear what the rest of what they said. Just watching the pain of Obama being ranked ahead of Trump.
I hate that.
See, here's the thing. And based on their views only, I understand why they're upset. I understand why it drives them crazy. Because I'm watching one time this clown Ben Shapiro, who's another one that people listen to and just automatically, you know, they give him, he's the intelligent one. He's really smart. And I'm not saying he's not smart, but he's smart in the way that he knows how to communicate to the audience that's listening to him. So when he was ranking presidents A to F, he had Donald Trump at a B and said that he can get to an A as his term continues. He had Barack Obama at a flat F. So, I mean, you know, want to talk about getting serious? Let's get serious.
Oh, come on, man. So ridiculous.
Yep.
F.
So, what about Ben Shapiro? You're a big Ben Shapiro fan, aren't you? You listen all the time.
No, I don't. Isn't Ben Shapiro the one who was complaining about
Barbie?
This song. Oh, yeah, Barbie too.
Yeah. WAP.
Yeah, he was very upset about that.
He that really did not sit well with Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, he was very upset. Like he talked about that for a long time.
Yeah, and it kind of backfired on him because people were wondering about whether or not his wife was able to get prepared for any sexual intercourse with Ben Shapiro. You know, he also, I don't know if you saw recently, he was part of a rap song that actually was #1 on iTunes, which again, I want to make sure that everybody understands it's not that difficult to get well, it would be difficult for me. If I tried to do a song on iTunes, I would not be able to do it. But when you also have some sort of name out there and you have a following that will spend the 99 cents to put your song at #1, it was the cringy. I didn't even have the heart to play it.
Like, why are they doing rap? They don't even like rap. Like, it's just so stupid. It's like Trump goes up there with those stupid ass sneakers and had the nerve to have sneakerhead come out of his mouth. Like, what the fuck do you know about being a sneakerhead other than what someone told you? You go here in front of some sneakerheads. I'm so happy he got booed. Like, what a clown. He just thought, you know, of course he wants the MAGA voters, but don't tell me in his head he wasn't thinking like, yeah, I can get the blacks to buy these sneakers because they like sneakers and they like shiny. Like, it's like fucking
Lana, what you just said, that's his entire presidency. It's not that he knows anything. It's what somebody tells him. And then he goes out and says it. So that's not just, you know, him pitching sneakers. That's him pitching a healthcare plan that doesn't exist. That's him pitching a wall that, you know, all this stuff. He's an empty vessel. And you have the Stephen Millers and Stephen Bannons putting his ideas in his head and just say, just run with it. Do your thing now. And he does. And, you know, that's why he somehow won the presidency. So, I think we saw some encouraging news on our show tonight, as far as the donations and the evangelical voters and other things that make me even more encouraged about the upcoming election.
Yeah.
And I think as Biden, if he does do the attack on Trump, which I think he should, and I don't even care if it's people going, it's the anti-Trump vote. Great. Bring out the anti-Trump vote. I don't care.
Let's just do it. Just vote. We don't
Yep.
care. We don't
Just
care
vote.
what you call it. Just vote.
Yep. So, okay. So Lana Quest has been doing her show. She's been doing her show for probably 3 years now, right?
Oh, yeah, about that.
Okay. So the Quest show you can find on YouTube. And she's been doing her show for 3 years. I think this might be, and you correct me if I'm wrong because you know better than I do, this might be the longest streak of weeks in a row.
Yeah, I'm going on 2 months.
Are you going to do it Thursday night to extend the streak?
Yeah, I wrote some stuff down in my notes on the phone, so I think so.
She's got phone notes, ladies and gentlemen.
I
So
have
guess
phone
what
notes.
that means?
Yeah.
That means, and by the way, I will also say, congratulations on actually, I'd say like 8 o'clock on Thursday night, and boom.
I know, on
there you
time.
are.
On time, pre-set up
Fire.
and everything. Ugh, I hate it.
I know. Don't get me wrong. There are times where, like, literally an hour before the show, I was like, I can literally lay down in my bed and take an 8-hour nap, which basically means go to sleep for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay,
Today,
nope, gotta go, gotta get going,
I have
gotta get
not heard.
everything
I
moving.
didn't hear from you. I was like, oh, did he tell me he was going away? I'm like, I don't know. I'm not.
Was
gonna
there a
call.
part of you that was like, just
I
don't
was like,
text me today?
yeah, I was just like, maybe we're not doing it. And I was not going to like.
You were not going to text because you were just. Listen, you have full. I've told you before. I don't get offended. You have full permission. If the day's not your day, you just go. I don't feel like doing it today. Just not doing it.
I will never feel like it. I just have to just do and not think about it.
Well, that's the thing. I think once I sit down, we go live, then I feel okay. I'm like, okay, now we're here. We can go. It's like a lot of times people invite me to a party or something. I'm like, I don't feel like fucking getting ready.
And then
once
you go,
I'm there,
like,
I'm like, all right, fuck, here's just my first drink. We're gonna have some fun. So that's what I hope the Black and White with Brian Rundle and Lana Quest show brings to everybody here. We're a big party, and we're going to continue that party on Thursday night on YouTube. Quest show, 8 o'clock. Great content. Lana will be there, and maybe she will give us her top 10 list of best presidents of all time.
Probably not.
No. Okay.
I can barely get quotes together.
It's
I'm like,
too
wow.
much.
I'm like, there's like 3 or 4 people in the chat. I need to start getting quotes and do the game again.
Yeah, you were a game person.
I know. I did quotes and questions, but
yeah, the only thing I noticed about the game, and I know we'll get going here in a second. The problem with the game is you ask the questions, but YouTube's delayed, right?
Yeah.
And so the answers come in like 5, 6, 7, 10 seconds later, and
that sucks. And then, but you can't play the game unless you have at least 2 people that are in your chat.
Right.
Well,
you do. I mean, usually you do.
Yeah, lately there's been people in the chat, but sometimes I've gone on. There was no one in the chat. Like, it just depends.
Well,
but
you know what?
It's over on Thursdays too, so
they can play the game at home when they're watching it on the replay. So
that is true.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in this week. We will be back again next Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Join Lana on her show on
Thursday. Subscribe.
Like, share, and subscribe. We have not said it. We've certainly displayed it, but
I know, can't get any bigger than that.
Right. Yeah. But please like and subscribe. We've picked up a lot of subscribers, by the way, over the last 28 days. We picked up like 70.
Oh,
so
that's
nice. Starting to get on a roll. We do these clips, and every week at least 1 or 2 of these clips hit 2,000 views within a week. So, so something.
The clips are where they're at.
Yep. So clips are where they're at. So thank you, Lana. And we will see everybody again next Thursday. Good night.
Good night.